Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered if a simple thank you is more powerful than a bonus check? Well, this new study dives deep into that exact question, looking at what really motivates us to go the extra mile, especially when it comes to sharing what we know. Imagine you are in a team and you've put in a lot of extra effort, maybe done some deep research for the group or summarized a complicated topic for everyone. How should that effort be rewarded to make you want to do it again, or even more of it next time? That is the big question Karin Moser and her team set out to answer. They were particularly interested in knowledge workers, people whose jobs are all about ideas and information. Because in these fields, it is harder to put a price tag on things compared to making a physical product. They suspected that something intangible, like good old-fashioned praise or recognition, might actually be a stronger motivator than cold hard cash. Why? Because when it comes to knowledge, it is deeply tied to social interactions, how we see ourselves and how we expect others to behave. In a nutshell, they hypothesized that getting a pat on the back for contributing to your team would be way more motivating for sharing knowledge than getting a financial reward. So how did they test this? They ran 3 clever experiments. In the first 2 studies, they had participants engage in teamwork scenarios. Some groups got verbal recognition for their extra efforts, like a simple "thank you, your contribution is very helpful." Others got nothing. The third study flipped it and looked at pay rewards for similar contributions, comparing it to a group that received no reward at all. The participants were mostly postgraduate students, and they were often getting credits for participating, which is a common and ethical way to conduct these sorts of studies. And guess what? The results were pretty clear in studies 1 and 2, that simple verbal "thank you" made a big difference. People who received recognition were way more willing to put in extra effort and felt more positive about investing their time into team tasks compared to those who got no acknowledgement. It wasn't just a tiny nudge either. The statistics showed a significant effect. And in study 2, they even looked at how the general reciprocity of the work environment played a role. This means if people generally feel that effort is rewarded in their workplace, recognition might be even more effective. Interestingly, they found that verbal recognition was most powerful in situations where people didn't already feel like the work environment was very reciprocal. This suggests recognition can step in and fill a gap when people are less likely to expect their efforts to be noticed or rewarded otherwise. This graph here really shows it. You can see that for both the recognition group and the no recognition group, higher perceived reciprocity generally led to higher knowledge sharing intentions. But notice how the recognition line is consistently above the no recognition line. Especially in the low reciprocity environments, that is the power of verbal praise. Now, for study 3, things took a surprising turn. When participants received a pay reward for their knowledge contributions, they actually reduced their effort. This happened whether the pay was for individual contributions or team contributions. It was the opposite of what they saw with verbal praise. It is like the money changed their mindset from wanting to contribute to the team good to thinking more transactionally. And if the payout wasn't perceived as high enough for something as valuable as their knowledge, they held back. This second figure illustrates that stark contrast. While recognition boosts willingness, financial rewards seem to dampen it, at least in this experimental setup. So, what does all this mean? The researchers interpret these findings as showing that different types of rewards have very different effects on what they call extra role behavior at work. That is the stuff you do that is beyond your basic job description, like sharing knowledge, helping colleagues, or going the extra mile. For knowledge sharing, which relies heavily on people feeling connected to the team, understanding shared goals, and identifying with the group, the social aspect seems to be key. Verbal recognition taps into feeling valued as part of the team. On the flip side, monetary rewards appeared to make people more calculating. They started to treat their knowledge contribution like a commodity, and if the payment wasn't seen as adequate for something as valuable and intangible as their own knowledge, they seemed to reduce their output. This is especially true in situations where it is not entirely clear what others are contributing, making people more cautious about how they are compensated. Now, every study has its limits, and this one is no different. The participants were mostly students, and the sample sizes in 2 of the studies were quite small. Plus, in the first 2 studies, they measured attitudes towards sharing knowledge, not necessarily the actual behavior itself, although study 3 did look at behavior. The researchers are already working on replicating these findings with larger groups of actual employees and more behavioral experiments. But even with these limitations, the implications are huge, especially for workplaces filled with knowledge workers. It suggests that a culture of appreciation and genuine verbal recognition might be far more effective for fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing than simply offering more money. It highlights that intrinsic motivation, the feeling of being valued and appreciated, can be incredibly powerful. For managers out there, it's a strong signal to remember to say thank you and to recognize the intangible contributions of their teams. It's not just about the bottom line, it's about building a supportive and motivating environment where people want to share their best ideas. It really makes you think about what truly drives us, doesn't it? Is it the promise of financial gain or the feeling of being seen and valued for our efforts? This research leans heavily towards the latter, at least when it comes to sharing our knowledge. And that is our dive into this fascinating study. What are your thoughts on this? Do you find recognition more motivating than money, or vice versa? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more insights into the science of the mind, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab. We'll see you in the next one.